Welcome back to Long Box Diving, where we explore comics and story arcs pulled from the Long Box. Now, we finally made it to X-Men 1, the relaunch of the X-Men line under Hickman. Hickman doing the writing and Francis Yu doing the arts. So we finally made it through House of X, Powers of X. We've hit the storyline, and there's just a lot going on here. I know Hickman said that he's supposed to be, individual set stories, one and done, but he's still doing a little bit of world building in here, and I find it very interesting. Some of it was kind of weird, some of it was actually really pretty good. So we start out with the old Xavier way back where Scott first gets his glasses, and we see this, you see the ruby and this and that. So you can kind of see Hickman here. He really kind of gets an idea of who these characters are and how they interact and how they talk, how they feel. And it really gets a good perspective of that, and I'm glad he gets the characters. And then we see the team. So this is a huge roster here. You got Cyclops, Storm, Polaris, Magneto, Dr. Reyes, Jean Grey, Havoc, Vulcan, Wolverine, Cable, Prestige, and Corsair. So there is a lot of names here. Now, from my understanding, they're not supposed to be in every issue. It's supposed to be different teams for different events or different missions, depending on what's the need, this, etc. But that is a big team. That's going to be a lot of people to handle and to juggle. So we'll see how he does that and how well that goes. So as we get into here, we actually see, and this is a great picture. So we have Storm and Cyclops going after one of the last Orchid strongholds here on Earth. And you see Storm with her powers, lightning bolt everybody. You see kind of Scott with his laser beam eyes shooting, and you see that whole interaction between those two, and it's really well done. And it's that old interaction that they used to have way back where, they were co-leaders of the X-Men. You see it again in the X-Men in the 90s, where they were co-leaders on different teams, and they interacted with each other and how they we see Cyclops again being just cool. For a long time, I was out of X-Men, and it just seemed like whenever I picked up an X-Men comic, Cyclops just looked like an idiot, like a wimp, or he even turned him into a bad guy at one point. That's not the Cyclops I remember, and I like seeing him being cool again. So they have this, they're running through the hallways, Scott's using his laser beams, and he sees everybody, they're backing up into this room, and he's like, either they're really well trained or they're protecting something, and we find out they are definitely protecting something. But then you see the whole roof kind of rips open, and there's Magneto. And this is quintessential Magneto. You can actually read this here. It says, Polaris, I know that I can be at times overly demanding, but I'm asking too much of a flawed world if I want no rubble and certainly no rabble beneath my feet when they touch the ground. That is definitely Magneto. Back to his old, I am better than you all, and I want you to know it, and I am going to show you that. So then we see a great scene where Cyclops tries to shoot through the door, but it's vibranium. And he goes, I know I can break through the shielding, but I can't definitely break through the door. And then we get into this vault, and you see they're transferring data. They don't want to destroy the core, and they all decide to take these injections, and they turn themselves into, you get it, PhD gorillas. And that's going to stop the X-Men. Yeah, I don't see how that's going to stop the X-Men. PhD gorillas, it's just, it doesn't make any sense. Then we get, there's a bunch of incubators here, and the X-Men are starting to unlock these people. And most of them are mutants, and they're pulling the mutants out of the cryogenic chambers or whatever they are. And you see Storm actually sets down one of the Krakoa plants, and she creates a portal. And then one of the beings that was in that is a girl looking like that. And they come to find out she is definitely not a mutant. She is actually a post-human. And they kind of talk to her, and her brain's a little scrambled. She doesn't really know where she's at, what she's doing. She doesn't know why she's out of the cryogenic chamber so early. And then she kind of teleports away. And of course, Magneto's like, I'm going after her right now. Let's go. And they're like, no, that's not the mission. The mission is to save all these children here. Look at it. All these mutant children. Let's get them back to Krakoa. That's the mission. And of course, Cyclops says, he's the commander of the commanders, the leader of the equals, or what do they call it? But he's like, the mission is to save the kids, and then we'll come back and we'll if the council decides, we'll come after this post-human. Now, it is also interesting. It's like this just seems to be happening a little early than they expected. So the time frames are all different from what the timelines that we saw. So Nimrod, the whole post-human thing, all these different times that we saw, things are different in 10, and they look like they're actually accelerating. And that's going to be interesting to me. Then we get back to Krakoa, and there's Reyes is there, and she's actually checking all of these new mutant children out. And then we get Magneto, and all the people are cheering for Magneto, Magneto, Magneto. And Magneto's again, you won't have to, for I am Magneto, let man run from me. So the kid's like, hey, can we fight with you, Magneto? He's like, no, that's my job. And of course, there was a point there that he was talking about, the gods are in front of you. And Hickman has definitely written Magneto to be like the old school Magneto. And then we get a nice little, conversation between Polaris and Cyclops, where she's like, is this what you expected? Is this the way it used to be? When in the past is the past, I'm not still finding my way into a new land. It's something, isn't it? I remember the day my son was born. I remember the sheer terror of it. Not the idea of being a father. I loved that. I had waited my whole life for that. So they go through this idea that, is this really what you expected? And Scott's like, I believe this is the real deal. I believe what we're doing now is real. I think it's going to last. And she's like, do you really believe that? And he answers, I do, every single word of it. And again, looking really cool there. So the art here in this book is fantastic. Little Francis Yu did a great job. And then we go back into orbit, back to the Forge, to the Orchid Forge, where the Mother Mold was, before that the X-Men and House of X4 was able to destroy and send into the sun. But apparently the base is still in operation, and they're trying to rebuild it. And you see the new director, right? That's this guy here, a human. He's also got augments in his eyes, etc. And he's like, what? We're gonna have to rebuild. This was my fault. You, Karima, told me that this could be a possibility. This could happen. And they got all these human bodies in these caskets, and looks like they're sending them out into the sun. He's like, we will have to rebuild. We'll have to do better next time. And then we get a nice little summer's family dinner. And then you get to see, look at Cyclops' house. This is from the observation deck. He is looking down at the world. He's like, why settle for any old house when I can have this? With Krakoa, they can actually, wherever they put a seed down, they can actually create a portal. So they went to the moon and created a portal, and now he's adjacent to the blue area of the moon, which is where Utu the Watcher lives. And so he's actually living on the moon with his family, which is really kind of crazy. Then we get Vulcan is actually cooking steak for dinner, and then we get a nice interaction between him and Wolverine. Said, I'm going to fight you. That's hilarious. So yeah, definitely caught Wolverine's vibe there. Now, honestly, Vulcan talked kind of funny, and I'm not sure if that's normal or if that's the way he always talked, or if this is something new that Hickman's doing. I'm not sure. We also get the same thing where Cable is talking to Raza, and Raza's, this is the kind of gun I have. I've got these antimatter bullets. I've got this holographic blood. And he goes, Mom, can I trade guns? Now, I know Cable, I know this is a young Cable. I know this is supposed to be a teenage Cable. But I don't know if Jean Grey would automatically start accepting him as son when it's actually Madeline Pryor's kid. At least I think that's still true. The whole thing's kind of weird. So that didn't sit that well. But it was nice to see the Starjammers were there, interacting with Prestige and Hope Summers. And we got, the dad, Havoc comes out, and they hand their dad this orchid, one of the Krakoa seeds, which he's going to be able to create a portal on the Starjammer ship, which is going to be interesting in other areas where they can be able to portal back to that ship no matter where they are in the universe. That's going to be interesting. Hopefully they can take another seed to the Shire Empire. This could lead to a lot of different storylines and story plots, which I found really good. But again, we get this Vulcan joke. It's good to see you, Dad. Yes, Father, your visits warmed my heart, which already is aflame, is like a pouring heat upon heat, is the fire of 1,000 suns. Okay, Gabe, he gets it. And I'm only like this because I grew up without a strong role model. Okay. So again, I'm not sure if that's Vulcan, if that's normally the way Vulcan is, or if that's just kind of weird. And then we get the Summers house. All right, so we look at this house. Everybody seems, we got the kitchen area in here, and we got the living quarters over here. Then we got Cyclops, Jean, and Wolverine, and the rooms are all connected. That didn't make any sense to me. Why? What is it? The love triangle still around? Is that still a thing? I don't know. Why isn't any one of these rooms? I think 15 is like empty. Yep, 15 is empty, so is 17. So why isn't any of those? It doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Maybe he's setting up a plot line. Then Scott is cleaning the dishes. Apparently it's his night. And that is the dishwasher. Yes, it's Krakoan goo. It biodissolves all the stuff on the plate, making it clean. I'm with Corsair here. That's disgusting. And I will never be eating at Scott's house ever, because I know how they wash their dishes now. That's gross. But we, again, in the conversation between father and son, we see that, what they're doing is dangerous. And like Scott said, it's always been dangerous for us. But he's got 3 sons involved in this, and it's a very dangerous situation. And they're putting their lives at risk. And he's just saying, hey, be careful. And I can understand that coming from a father's point of view. You really need to be careful. So then we flip back to the forge, and we see the doctor. The doctor from issue 4, whose husband was killed during the X-Men raid. And she's really pretty vengeful. She's upset her husband died. And the other doctor, the cybernetic doctor guy, is talking to her and saying, you should have been there when you buried your husband. She said, I didn't need to. He's not even there. There wasn't even enough to bury him once everything blew up. He goes, she was the best military mind, our greatest strategist and hunter, a tower of a man. Memories are fine. Legacy is better. But in losing him, we lost more than that. She goes, I know. But you know what? I think I know of a way to bring him back. So there is definitely a plot line there. I don't know how she's planning to bring her husband back, but it looked like she was picking up a piece of Nimrod, a glowing Nimrod stone. So something's going on. So we have posthumans that seem to already be in development, kind of jumped out. We see Nimrod stones. They're rebuilding the forge. So we're going to have Omega Sentinels and Nimrods coming up at some point. We see the Krakoa plant going out to the Starjammer ship. That's going to be interesting. We see, it looks like a love triangle being set up. I don't know how that's going to work out. Vulcan's a little weird, but maybe that might resolve itself a little bit. And then Cable calling Jean Grey Mom. That was really kind of weird. So overall, great story, still world building, setting up a lot of plot points. It looks like it's going to be a fantastic run. So if you're not on this, you need to jump on this early. I did get the 1 in 10 printing of the cover because I like it, and I'm, maybe we'll wear something someday if they don't blow it with all the extra different stories they're trying to put out in this. And it looks like it's going to turn into a cash grab, X Corp, whatnot. That's crazy. Just stick with what we got here. It's good. Read it. So if you like this review, please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time here in the Long Box.